Genetically modified foods. Genetically modified foods cause cancer because genetically modified foods are a result of the DNA of two species being spliced together. For instance, the DNA of an Atlantic salmon with the DNA of a tomato spliced together in the hope that a tomato will be created that will grow in the snow. But actually they don't usually result in that, and there's this huge grey area. They do not know the full effect on human beings, but what is known is the substances that are broken down in the body after eating genetically modified foods are not known in the body and have the ability to tamper and even damage our DNA.
Why should she give supplements to a child when in the grandparents' day they never had such a thing? But the food from our grandparents' day was very different.
So different.
The soil was different. The soil was richer in minerals. The volumes that were being produced in the soil was a lot lower, so the vegetables had a lot better chance of maintaining its integrity.
There was a lot less pesticides.
Yeah, herbicides, pesticides weren't being used nowhere near as much. When you spray those pesticides and herbicides on things like wheat, for example, or rice or corn, it stays on it for life. There was a research study done on boxed cereals, and they looked at 26 different cereals, and they found that I think something like 24, 25 of the 26, the glyphosate was still present on the cereal by the time it hit the child's bowl. So it's in the kitchen, open it, pour it into the bowl, add the milk, the glyphosate was still there.
Genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, are everywhere, hiding in our snacks, meals, and even so-called healthy foods. But what if these lab-created crops are doing more than just filling your plate?
The mercury was coming from the fish. So that's one example, okay? Another example, because one of the primary fish that people like to eat is salmon. What people just recently found out about salmon a couple of years ago is they make a genetically modified version of it. Did you know that? Yeah, so they make a genetically modified version. I think it was created in Canada. And then they started putting it in, you know, because it comes from Alaska and that area around Canada. And so they take this genetically modified version and somehow incidentally combine it in the same waters with the natural salmon. You know what the genetically modified version started doing? You can look this up.
Shocking evidence suggests GMOs could be tampering with your health, causing everything from allergies to more serious diseases like cancer. While they promise bigger harvests and less pesticide use, the truth behind GMOs might be making us sicker than ever.
Hippocrates, called the father of medicine, he made a statement that's often quoted. He said, "Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food." And he did not know about the DNA. He did not know that our very food makes up our DNA. And when I look at some supermarket trolleys, I think, how will their DNA ever remake them properly? Because the very nutrients required to make this DNA.
Lately, people are noticing their food seems fake. Fruits that look perfect but taste bland. This is a sign something might be wrong, and they're on to something.
I found some watermelon that only has water and no melon.
America is selling fake fruit, from rubbery avocados to blueberries made out of silicone. Something weird is happening to the produce from grocery stores. This mom bought a watermelon and it was too stretchy and inedible for her kids.
I can't believe I got one. I got a rubbery watermelon.
People are panicking since this has become a frequent thing, and many have said they will only buy from the farmers markets.
Store-bought and from a farm.
This is a genetically modified apple. Yep, an apple. It's been modified to grow in Florida year-round rather than just seasonally further north. It tastes exactly the same, and I'm all for increasing food production, but it gives me a creepy feeling. Like, should we be doing this? I don't know. What do you think?
The trouble often comes from GMOs, genetically modified organisms. These GMOs are in many of our foods, making crops bigger and last longer, but maybe taking away real flavor and nutrition. It's like eating lab-made food instead of fresh, natural produce.
Guys, this is what I'm talking about. Check this out. This is supposedly an organic strawberry. This is an apple. Do you see the problem here? There is no way this is normal. There is no way this is natural, and there is no way this is a regular strawberry. A real strawberry should be about this big, okay? We are eating fake fruit, and this is one more reason we are all sick, tired, and fat. This has a bunch of starch and extra sugar in it, and it is grown for maximum profitability, okay? Follow me for more if you like this kind of content. You need to get help, get on my Feel Great system, and let's go. Bam.
So, are we so focused on making crops more profitable that we're missing out on what really matters? Are we trading taste and health for bigger, longer-lasting fruits?
And when a human being eats genetically modified food, and that food's broken down to these simple structures, especially amino acids, the body says, "Who are you? I don't recognize you." And if there's no other amino acids, they have to use them for the building of the DNA, and that causes flaws, causes mutations in the DNA. Eating genetically modified foods causes cancer, because it actually puts into the body basic ingredients that the body does not know how to use.
In today's food world, profit often takes priority over the nutrients we need. Farmers and big companies focus on growing crops that produce a lot quickly and can handle tough conditions. But this usually means the quality drops. Many GMOs are created not for better taste or extra vitamins, but to last longer on the shelf and resist chemicals. This helps big agriculture make more money, but for us, it can mean less nutritious and sometimes harmful food.
What people forget about that is it is the Food and Drug Administration. They're not just in charge of drugs, they're in charge of our food too. So when genetically modified organisms or foods were introduced to our system, they approved it. And I talk about this in my book, the guy who approved it, he was one of the attorneys from one of the industries that was pushing genetically modified foods. He came over to the FDA and became deputy director and approved those foods.
Genetic modification, which is how GMOs are made, involves changing a plant's DNA to give it special traits. It might sound like cool science, but it has big effects on our health. These modified crops can survive heavy use of herbicides and pesticides, which means farmers use lots of chemicals on them.
Did you know that Vladimir Putin, the Russian's president, he's passed a law that any Russian who grows or sells genetically modified foods is to be considered a terrorist? Whew. He's even giving land away to Russians who will grow food organically, non-GMO.
And guess what? These chemicals, like glyphosate, often end up in our food. The World Health Organization calls glyphosate a possible cancer causer.
And then in around 2006, they discovered that if you sprayed it on wheat late in the season, it would desiccate the wheat. In other words, it would dry it out. And one of the big losses for farmers in wheat is if it rains during the harvest season, you can't harvest it because it gets moldy. And so if you can spray a desiccant on it and dries it out and kills it, you can harvest it right away and it won't get moldy. So all the wheat in our country started being sprayed that year in 2006 with glyphosate.
Glyphosate is heavily sprayed on genetically modified crops like corn and soybeans that are designed to resist it. This means farmers can spray their fields to kill weeds without damaging the crops. But for us, the consumers, it's not so harmless. Research has linked glyphosate to serious health issues, including cancer, as it's been classified as a probable carcinogen by health organizations.
Granola, oatmeal, cereal, snack bars. If you eat any of these regularly, check out this video. Research has shown that non-organic versions of these foods specifically contain a large amount of a harmful chemical known as glyphosates. These are commonly found in pesticides and have been linked to cancer and several other health problems. If you're going to eat these foods, please choose organic options and share this video with somebody who should hear this.
Studies show it can disrupt the gut microbiome, the collection of bacteria in our digestive system that's essential for good health. A healthy gut is key for digestion and immune function, but glyphosate throws off this balance, potentially leading to problems like digestive disorders and autoimmune diseases such as celiac disease. It doesn't stop there. Glyphosate has also been shown to interfere with hormones, which could contribute to problems like infertility and birth defects.
Okay, here it is. You ready?
Yes.
Ben and Jerry's. They make ice cream.
Uh-huh.
They got in trouble one day because someone found trace amounts of glyphosate in their ice cream, like parts per billion. Okay?
Okay.
What is glyphosate?
I have no
It is an herbicide manufactured by Monsanto, which is a chemical agriculture company. There are people who wanted to boycott Ben & Jerry's. And so they did the right business thing. They said, okay, we will we will never do this again. Okay. Do you realize there's something called an LD50? It's a lethal dose 50. Everything has a LD50, everything. It's the amount of this substance you would have to ingest for half of the people to die. The LD50 for glyphosate is slightly worse than your LD50 for salt. To die from the trace amounts of glyphosate, you'd have to consume 30 million pints.
But glyphosate isn't the only chemical we need to worry about. Atrazine, another herbicide commonly used on GMO corn, is also cause for concern. Atrazine has been linked to hormone disruption, meaning it messes with our body's natural hormone systems. This can lead to reproductive problems, including a higher risk of birth defects and even breast cancer.
You put his name and GMO in Google that, and you'll read the spiel. He says, we Russians look across at the West, over-vaccinated, over-medicated, overfed, sitting in front of boxes every night in their lounge rooms, eating food that has no nutrients, he said, and we know it's weakening the West. Is he right?
Other harmful pesticides like chlorpyrifos are also used in GMO crop production. Chlorpyrifos has been connected to brain damage in children, and many experts have pushed for its ban. Yet, it still ends up on our plates in the form of residues on fruits and vegetables.
Unfortunately, Monsanto is so powerful and so wealthy and so big, they win every court case where Australians want GMO to be labelled on the products. Happens in America too, it's unfortunate. So how do you know? Well, you don't, unless you buy organic. You see, if an organic farmer uses genetically modified seed, they lose their organic status. So grow as much as you can yourself. And the more Aussies that buy organic, the more organic will be available. One organic tomato will give you 9 times the iron of a conventionally grown tomato. So you get much more value for your money, even though organic is more expensive.
The involvement of figures like Bill Gates in the promotion of GMOs has raised eyebrows too.
Yeah, what are called GMOs are done by changing the genes of the plant, and it's done in a way where there's a very thorough safety procedure, and it's pretty incredible because it reduced the amount of...
Bill Gates' influence in the GMO industry has sparked debates about whether this is a genuine attempt to improve global food systems or just another way to push profit-driven solutions that benefit the few at the cost of public health. So, what can we do?
Theories. How many people believe that they're sick because of their genes? But what is true is that genetics loads the gun, but it's lifestyle that pulls the trigger. Important point. We all have loaded guns in some area or another, but loaded guns are useless unless you pull the trigger. Many people today are sick because of the environment that they're living in.
We must switch to eating real, whole foods, and instead of stuff that looks like it was made in a lab. Cooking at home means you get to pick what goes into your meals, so you can dodge all those sneaky sugars and weird additives. Check out your local farmers markets for fresh, tasty produce, and if you're up for it, try growing a few herbs yourself. When you're reading food labels, if you come across ingredients that sound like they belong in a science experiment, maybe give it a second thought. Going for organic options when you can helps you avoid GMOs and those nasty pesticides. Stick to foods packed with goodness like leafy greens, berries, and eggs from happy, pasture-raised chickens. Adding fermented foods and bone broth to your diet can give your gut a real boost. And cutting back on sugar will help you avoid feeling like a sugar zombie, giving you more energy and better health overall. Stay informed, stay healthy, and make choices that benefit your well-being. If you found this video helpful, hit that subscribe button for more tips on how to protect yourself and stay informed about your health and wellness.